and Guidry goes, let's go look at something that took place 40 years ago. Who cares? Okay, that's political.
Okay, welcome. On behalf of IBM TV, International Broadcast Television and Media, my name is Bill Trezevant, and right now, I need Nick. Nick, where are you?
I have arrived, Mr. Bill. I am here. Good to have you on everybody seeing the Lawyer's Den, and we'd like to welcome our people around the world from India, Pakistan, and Nigeria who hopefully are now joining the Lawyer's Den, because I know we're showing in all those three countries. So you get to listen to law in the United States. Like, this is exciting. So, so the thing is, speaking of excitement, what sort of excitement do we have today, Bill?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking it might be our people, but
should we get our people in first, then we'll find out what the topic is?
If that's okay.
All right, let's do it. Okay, the first person that we have on deck actually graduated from BYU University School of Law, which is otherwise known as Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. Then he went on to receive his master's in law from George Washington University, a complete scholar from Salt Lake. We'd like to bring into the den our favorite, Jeff Teichert. Jeff, welcome back to the den.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay, you can give us some insights on what's going on in the great western parts of the United States for people that don't know much about it. Now we have somebody who doesn't know much about anything. He went to the University of Southern California, which is, by the way, known as USC. That's the place where all fraud was committed to get into the university. We will not comment any further on how he got admitted. He claims to have played baseball. We don't know if it was baseball or he was surfing or what the heck he was doing there, but eventually he left. And when he left, he went to the Ohio State University, I believe, to receive his law degree, and he graduated. Congratulations. Then after that, I believe he went to the University of Alabama. I never added this one, but I'm looking up him in the dark web, where he received his master's in science.
No. Nick, did you say the dark web? Because I don't think that there's anything dark about, the one that you're introducing. Don't mind me. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, right. Well, you're sorry. He's sorry, but that's the way it goes. Anyway, the thing is, we went to University of Alabama, and he received a degree in crime, or was that criminology? Or he's an expert in crime. I don't know. But he went on afterwards to receive another master's degree, which is at New York University. And then afterwards, now this person is obviously a lost soul. Think about it. All that education, what's he going to do with it? Teach, obviously. So he taught at the Indiana Tech University School of Law, where I basically sort of ran into him. And then after teaching there, because you don't know the history of Indiana Tech like I do, and he knows it better than all of us, but that's another story.
Okay,
anyway, University.
I mean, seriously.
Indiana Tech.
How long before we get to?
You have to go through his CV. He's also written thousands of articles. He's absolutely amazing. He actually looks to be a brilliant person, teaches at Georgia College. Let's bring in our brilliant person of the day, Adam Lamparero, Professor Adam Lamparero.
Well, finally.
Okay. But he's the one who has the longest one, because he's got this crazy curriculum vitae with all these articles he wrote. I mean, the guy just can't, you just can't keep this guy quiet. It just goes on forever.
You can't keep him quiet, but I mean, I think everything else he lists on his resume is just BS.
It probably is. But he didn't have a BS degree. He had a MS.
Oh, right.
Anyway, he can defend himself later on. We need to bring in some other experts into the den. And this person has a very short CV, because he went to the State University of New York at Buffalo. And after he received his law degree, he went direct for the throat and got admitted before the New York Bar Association. Spends his time at the throat, and he practices law in New York City. Can you imagine that? With all the sharks out there, this guy practiced law in New York City. His name is Fernando Leal.
Hey, nice to be here. You don't need a long CV to smack people around.
No, that's correct. See, he found how to go direct to the source. And then finally, after all these animals enter the den, we decided to bring in some class to the den. We had to reach across the pond into Lithuania. And from Lithuania, she found her way into the United States of America, which we're broadcasting from right now. And in the United States of America, she went to the University of Denver School of Law, got her Rocky Mountain High. I don't think she's too high right now, but also received a master's in law from the University of Denver, and then practices law, immigration in the state of Florida, bringing more people from Lithuania in. Let's bring in more people like her because her name is Gidri Stantonite. Gidri, welcome back to the den. It's good to have class. You know, we can eliminate most of the people here, and then you could do the show, and it'll probably be a great show. So I don't know why you like all these other people here. You got to let me know someday, you know. But anyway, they're here, and we can't seem to get rid of them. It's like, you know, fly paper. But we do have the den master, who also went to the State University of Albany in New York, and then also practices law in the Tower of Power, Washington, D.C. He is the den master, the Honorable William Trezevant. William Trezevant, welcome back to the show.
No, I feel bad now because what I need to do, Nick, if you don't mind, before I get into our subject, is Gidri, Nick called you out and said, you know, I mean, do you have any thoughts initially? Gidri, please.
Bill, I always have thoughts, but I don't know where to start in this particular case. I'm just going to smile and see what happens. I will bring you some thoughts.
All right, well then fine. Smile. I mean, Nick is okay. For our people, our audience, let me try this. Tonight, it's a discussion that we may have to have that I think should be cutting edge, because it's always the 10th Amendment. I mean, you know, we go through all the other amendments. We always know, you know, they say 14, they say 4th, they say 2nd, they say 1st. But I don't know that we've ever actually finished discussing the 10th Amendment. And it's in there for a reason. And so with that, that's our topic for tonight. And so I'm going to go, Jeff, please, can you help everyone understand the 10th Amendment? Jeff, please.
Yes, let's begin with the language of the amendment itself. It says, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So in simpler terms, the government powers not given by the Constitution to the federal government or prohibited to the states are reserved to the states. The idea is that the federal government is islands of government power in a sea of liberty, and that the residual powers, or those powers that aren't specifically delegated to the federal government, are supposed to be reserved to the states. And James Madison, who wrote the 10th Amendment, said in Federalist 45, the powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Those which are to remain in the state governments are numerous and indefinite. The former, meaning the federal government, will be exercised principally on external objects as war, peace, negotiation, and foreign commerce, with which the last, the power of taxation, will for the most part be comprised. The powers reserved to the states will extend to all the subjects which, in the ordinary course of affairs,
Jeff,
the lives, liberties, and properties of the people.
No, Jeff, you're losing me. I mean, I just need an opening thing, and right now, I mean, I'm snoozing. Fernando, please, the 10th Amendment, states' rights, national rights. I mean, we have an administration now that's about to, jump on everybody. No, Jeff, I don't want you to think I don't love you. I do love you. But Fernando, please.
Okay. I'm more along the lines of a federalist republic where you have a strong national government that ties all the states together, which is what George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay, and the rest of the Federalists were for. I'm pretty sure that at some point during this show, that will all change, because you'll say something that'll get me to change and become more towards state versus federalist.
All right. Okay. Gidri, and then Adam. Adam, don't think I forgot about you, but Gidri first, please, and then Nick after Adam. I'm coming to you. Okay.
Well, the good news is that we have 50 little democracies, also called little laboratories, to decide what is good for the United States and for that federal national interest. I am pro-state policy, state authority. I think 10th Amendment is needed. I think that congressional power has been abused under the Commerce Clause. And I think that it is necessary for the state to maintain their authority because they are the closest to the people. They have the interest. The geography of the United States also dictates certain needs and regulations to be addressed. And that's where I stand.
Adam, please. Adam,
Unmute.
please.
Thank you, Counselor.
The most important aspect of liberty and freedom is not the Bill of Rights. It's the structure of the Constitution, the structural provisions that provide for decentralization and a limited federal government. The 10th Amendment reflects this principle. However, the 10th Amendment only has force or meaning depending on how the courts interpret the other provisions in the Constitution. And the courts, particularly the Supreme Court, has repeatedly taken an expansive view of the federal government's power under the Commerce Clause. Example, National Federation of Independent Investors versus Sebelius, the taxing power. Okay, the court has refused to allow states to enact term limits in the United States versus Thornton, refused to allow states to ban same-sex marriage under Obergefell versus Hodges, refused to allow states to do a variety of things, such as in District of Columbia versus Heller, passing sensible gun legislation. So the 10th Amendment sounds good. The problem is that the courts have interpreted the other parts of the Constitution so broadly to create a centralized and bloated federal government that's inconsistent with what the founders envisioned.
Nick, I mean, no, Nick. I mean, that's between everybody, that's a loadful. And I know I'm laying it on your shoulders, but Nick, can you help me?
Yeah, not really, because the thing is that's one of the most boring things I've ever heard Adam say since I've been on the Den. I mean, the 10th Amendment is, Bill, there's nothing exciting about this 10th Amendment. It is one of the most boring things that are in law practice. And frankly, as a practicing attorney, how do you bill for that? Okay, I mean, come on, let's get real, Bill. I mean, the thing is, what are you going to do? Tell your client, well, the states get the rights here and the federal government's the right there. Unless you're a constitutional lawyer who gets hired who wants to argue in front of the United States Supreme Court an issue that is totally irrelevant to making money, it's a complete waste of time. So the only other way it makes sense to monetize is you got to do like Adam, become a professor at some university and write about states' rights. So I'm glad we're going to have this topic, this boring topic today, but my international audience is going to have a real problem.
No, don't worry. Jeff, can you make it real for the international audience how you build or a bill for the 10th Amendment?
Well, I mean, I think to an extent, Nick is right about that. They tend to be tested to invalidate federal laws. And so one particular plaintiff doesn't often have the capacity or the ability to mount a lawsuit. Usually these are brought by large numbers of different groups, or once in a while, a state government will sue the federal government, such as in New York versus United States, which was back in the 90s. The federal government had a law that said that if states didn't come up with a nuclear and radioactive waste disposal program, they had to take title to the radioactive waste. They had to own it. And the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that. It's not within any of your enumerated powers. Adam is also right that they have the Supreme Court has expansively interpreted the commerce power, which is the power to regulate commerce among the several states, to allow the federal government to do almost anything they wanted. I think that's a mistake. It happened during Franklin Delano Roosevelt's term when he threatened to pack the court. And for our foreign audience, that means he wanted to add more justices to the Supreme Court so that the existing court would stop invalidating all of the statutes that he was proposing and getting passed. And the court had steadfastly done that. Now, the history suggests that Roosevelt lost that battle, that people stood up against court packing, which they did. He was not able to pack the court. But Justice Owen Roberts, afraid that he would pack the court, flipped his vote on states' rights and began to vote the other way for expansive federal power. And ultimately, most of Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal ended up becoming law and was never invalidated by the Supreme Court because of people were afraid of the court packing scheme.
Okay. Oh, great. Jeff, listen. Whew, that was a load. I mean, I don't even know if I can unpack my own law school books on that one. I want everybody to know, Adam, I'm coming to you, Fernando, you, and then Nick, you, and Guidry, I don't forget about you, but this is what I need right now.
Well,
No. We are in an age and a day and a time when we have the federal government about to do very big things with immigration. They already did it with the economy. They're going to do other stuff with infrastructure. And they're going to have essentially this basic thing, federal dollars as, tag for or local support. And the question becomes, nobody ever asks whether or not it's right for the federal government to do that rather than what the states get to do. So with that having been said, Adam, please, I know you're down there in Georgia.
I'm going to cut through all the BS. The 10th Amendment does not mean anything. It is a meaningless provision in the Constitution. Why is that? Because for years, the U.S. Supreme Court, 9 unelected and life-tenured judges, have expanded federal power to such an extent that decentralization has replaced centralization. Let's start with the Commerce Clause in Wickard versus Filburn. Let's go to the taxing power, National Federation versus Sebelius. Let's go to the 14th Amendment and substantive due process, where the court has created unenumerated national rights that have nothing to do with the Constitution in Griswold, Roe, Planned Parenthood, Lawrence, and Obergefell. So what the court has done, 9 unelected judges, is give the federal government nearly unchecked power that has disrupted our system of federalism, rendered the 10th Amendment illusory, and threatened our democracy.
Okay, fine. Fernando, big city, big government. I mean, you're a liberal up there in the Northeast. We just Fernando, please.
Yeah, I take exception to you describe me as a liberal because I'm not.
Wait. Can I describe you as a friend? Can I do
yes,
that?
Yes, you can. That you can do.
Okay, fine.
The other lie I'm not going to let you get away with. This whole idea that supposedly, federal expansion by the courts started recently isn't true. I mean, maybe I'm misremembering, Gibson versus Ogden, which was an 1864 case in where the Marshall Court said that interstate commerce was, a federal power. And that was a case where there was a steamboat system between 2 guys who were trying to run ferries from New York to New Jersey. One guy had a state license and the other guy had a federal license. And the guy with the federal license won because the court said that the state license was a monopoly, in essence. I don't have anything against states' rights, but to let states run amok becomes a problem. And we saw that when this country was under the Articles of Confederation. And by the way, we already had this whole issue about state rights. You guys lost when the North won the Civil War, whether people like it or not.
No, we lost when we had an oligarchy in the form of the U.S. Supreme Court handing down laws, centralizing power.
And
That's
again,
right.
You're wrong on that point again, because if you read any of the Federalist Papers and you read any of the writings left behind by Hamilton, Washington, Madison, and the rest of the Federalists, they weren't very happy with the Constitution that was written. They wanted a Constitution that was a lot stronger in national scope because of the issues that they faced during the Revolutionary War, where they couldn't get any money to raise armies, where they couldn't feed the army, and they had to go to France and Spain to get provisions and money so that we can beat England. Maybe you forgot that portion of history also.
No, gentlemen, please, because I have to bring Guidry in. Guidry, if you're out there, you see, here is the issue. we have this fight between an originalist and or someone that thinks the Constitution ought to be, living. I know you're living. I know Adam's out there burning books. But what do you have to say?
Well, of course, I am for a living constitution. I think the mere existence of the Bill of Rights is that it's supposed to also be readjusted and changed. But the people think about Commerce Clause. Do you think that a couple hundred years ago, the founding fathers imagined or guessed that, okay, that's what we're going to have, the economy is going to be like that, so let's draft this Commerce Clause? No, and we cannot imagine what's going to happen and how the economy is going to look, let's say, 100 years ahead. But that's,
you believe in states' rights but a living constitution?
That's
Really?
Different.
Wow, how interesting and ironic.
I definitely do think so. And I think that right now, federal government has been abusing its enumerated powers in Constitution. I am a firm believer that states with 50 small labs are tiny democracies that are experimenting with the better well-being for us. So we have seen different changes, such as, let's say, Kentucky tax regulations. Everybody saw that maybe it was too broad. Let's decline it and move forward. Right now, taking back to the reality, we have marijuana, we have weed. So let's talk about that. We have federal.
No, Deidre, you're absolutely right. Jeff, 20 democracies, okay, independent authority, fighting back against what I guess they say constitutionally is the man. Each state saying, I don't need the man to be telling me about what I need to be doing. Now, Jeff, please.
Well, I think the man has a right to tell people what to do, but it has to be principled. We want the structure of the Constitution to be adhered to protect our liberty. The United States Constitution also contains a thing called the Supremacy Clause, which means that within the enumerated powers, the powers enumerated in Article 1 of the Constitution to Congress, the federal government is supreme in those areas. But outside of those areas, it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to defer to the states. Well, what areas have created this bloated national government that Adam is talking about? I'll give you a couple of them. Education. There is nothing in the federal Constitution that even remotely gives Congress power over the education of children. But that is an area where the federal government has inserted itself. Another one, a lot of social welfare and anti-poverty programs. Those traditionally were state responsibilities. The federal government has taken a lot of it over and made a huge mess out of it through FDR's New Deal and Lyndon Johnson.
Come on. That was 100 years ago. Sorry. Nick, Nick. I mean, Jeff's going back to fight the Civil War. Nick, can you bring me up to 20?
Civil War wasn't about education and poverty.
Yeah, I can help you out. I mean, overall, the state should be abolished and stuck in the place where they really belong, and let the federal government. I know Adam is jealous as heck that he's not life appointed to anything and doesn't have tenure at his university, so he floats in outer space. But at the same time, okay, let's just get real, okay? It's a math thing, Bill. If you get a lot of people together in the room, the top 1% will be better than if you get a small, tiny group of people in a room. The top 1% suck. So mathematically, the United States, when you get 300 million people, you get the top people there, you're going to have some good people. You get these tiny little stupid states out there, they're trying to rule themselves. You get stupid people ruling it. And that's the reason, like Mark Lee says, why does South Carolina, I love his comment, let's bring him in right now. He goes, why do South Carolina and Wyoming don't have anti-hate laws? It's real simple. A lot of stupid people live in Wyoming and South Carolina. So that's the answer. Abolish the states altogether. We're all going to be better off. Just have one federal system, and we're moving that direction. Thank you very much.
No. Thank you, Nick. Adam, Deidre, and Fernando, please.
When the Supreme Court makes up rights out of thin air and takes away state power, it takes away individual liberty. And this has been happening for over 125 years. In Lochner versus New York, in Meyer versus Nebraska, in Pierce versus Society of Sisters, in Griswold versus Connecticut, in Roe versus Wade, in Planned Parenthood versus Casey, and Obergefell versus Hodges, the court created rights that had nothing to do with the Constitution. They literally invented rights and therefore gave itself 9 unelected judges the power to decide the law for the entire nation and undermine democracy.
Okay,
That's what
fine.
living constitutionalism is. And let me tell you, living constitutionalism is for Lithuanians. It is not for the United States. We're originalists because we believe in democracy and individual liberty.
Well, no, you believe in North Korea, and so does Nick. I mean, I got that. Fernando, please.
Nick should be shipped to North Korea, I said.
Okay.
No comments toward that right now, Counselor.
No, Nick, I get you. Fernando, Guidry, please. Otherwise, I'll start muting people.
Yeah.
Fine.
Again, Adam needs a basic civics class. We're not a democracy, we're a republic, and we're a republic based on a federalist system in where the Constitution ties all the states together, whether he likes it or not. You know, the Constitution can't be viewed as it was back in 1785 or 1765 or 1865. That's just nonsensical and not really thinking it through, because society changes. So if you let the documents stay stagnant, the government collapses. Now, the 10th Amendment provides a balancing act between the federal government and the state government. It lets the states have those powers which the federal government doesn't have. Now, the drafters of the Constitution were. Hold on.
No, I'm done. I'm not going to listen to this lecture anymore. Guidry, and then believe it or not, Jeff. Guidry, please, and then I'm going to Jeff, because Jeff, I know you need to have something to say to Fernando. Guidry.
Well, I will have something to say to Adam. Adam, thank you for not sending me back to Gitmo. I appreciate that. But when it comes to Adam's
You're welcome.
thanks. When it comes to your point about Supreme Court and it being way too powerful when it comes to the decision of 10th Amendment, I will agree with you on that. But I am also a believer of an interplay within federal government and also state powers when it comes to coming and creating some nationally accepted, recognized rights that are essential. So for instance, the same marriage rights, we have states trying to impose certain rules and regulations, there are certain complaints. Then we have this disagreement, goes to appellate court, more dialogue, Supreme Court gets the memo and has to make a decision. And here you go, we have a nationally recognized civil right of the same marriage. And then I know you would say, okay, it's a living constitution, let's the legislatory body to address it. But you know, Adam, when it comes to the suffering, and that is extended through years and years, centuries of years, sometimes someone needs to say, okay, it's enough. We have a lot of sufficient dialogue, sufficient interplay between both mechanisms, and then let's create something. And therefore, I apologize. And therefore, I do
No, I'm fine. So, Jeff, here you are. And this is a question I have for you. I mean, seriously, on all matters big and small, if federal dollars are flowing, then why can't the federal government tell the 50 democracies, the incubators that Guidry talks about, why can't the federal government tell them what to do if we're paying with federal dollars? Jeff?
Well, let me argue with the premise of the question to begin with. Why are the federal dollars flowing? How come the federal government is taxing to such an extent and then giving the money back to the states? Why not tax less and let the states tax more and do more for themselves? We could have those laboratories of democracy that Guidry is talking about, and then other states could adopt policies that have worked in other places that they've been watching. But when we have a federal standard that's imposed universally, how is an individual state going to try something new? Another point on this, I'm going to differ with Adam a little bit, and even with my own party. Adam talked about...
Whoa. You're going to disagree with your own people?
Well, yeah, let me begin with that. Bob Dole in 1996, when he was running for president, was arguing for federal tort reform at almost in the same breath that he was saying it was time to dust off the 10th Amendment, and he would even quote it. He quoted it in a debate with Bill Clinton. And where in the Article 1 of the Constitution does it give the federal government any responsibility whatsoever for tort law? It doesn't. And so he's arguing for the 10th Amendment on one hand, and then he's violating it with another one of his biggest proposals. Now, I would say when it comes to rights, which is something Adam keeps talking about, the Supreme Court inventing rights. Well, I agree. They've done far too much of that, but that's not really a 10th Amendment issue. The 10th Amendment issue, for example, take abortion. Adam hates Roe versus Wade. Well, if Congress passed an abortion law saying banning abortion, for example, that would be unconstitutional because the 10th Amendment gives Congress no power to do that. Nothing even remotely related to it. So you couldn't have the federal government pass a law about abortion under my rules for the interpreting the 10th Amendment. The federal government has no power to regulate abortion. Conversely, the states do, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because of the way the powers are apportioned under the 10th Amendment.
No, Jeff, you're absolutely right, because I want you to know, at least intellectually, you are voicing an opinion that's been in the back of my head for quite some time. But right now, what I need is Nick. And Nick, what kind of sense are you making of this? I mean, I just don't know, Nick.
You know, I don't know. I see. I agree with Giedrian. Let's move Jeff and way over here where he belongs, and let's move Adam way over there where they belong because they believe in the state rights. And it's really simple to see. One lives in Georgia, and he's probably been indoctrinated that for some reason the states are going to have superior. And he keeps hitting on the Supreme Court. Yeah, they weren't elected, but they were appointed by people who were elected. Hello, it wasn't like they just showed up and they anointed themselves. They went through a process. So apparently has a real problem with obeying people that are actually
No, Nick, that's unfair.
Yeah.
No, that's unfair because listen, those prior justices, they paid bribes, they did whatever, they cut deals, they got into their jobs, and now produced both Adam and Nick as originalists, and then Guidry, who living Constitution, my friend Fernando, who is just a pragmatic person from New York City. Nick, seriously, you can't just lump them all in one category, Nick.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, the Supreme Court is making very rational rulings, which they've done over and over again. He objects to them too bloody bad. So that the thing is, we have a uniform system of laws. It's in the area I work in, ERISA. It's done on purpose, so we don't have a hodgepodge of a bunch of stupid states making stupid decisions, which is what goes on right now. It creates more problems than it solves. Thank you, nationalism. Goodbye, states.
Okay, Guidry, stupid states, stupid decisions. Guidry, stupid states, stupid decisions.
Nick, but you're listening what I'm saying. I'm actually pro stupid states and stupid decisions.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, with a heavy heart. No, I really do believe that states have the most reasonable opportunity to create a difference that would reflect their own institution, their own needs, their constituencies need. For instance, California has the highest amount of motor vehicles, so it makes sense for California to impose certain additional requirements when it comes on the carbon emission. So that's just one example of it. But I do think that I believe in both. I really do believe in both. I think there are certain issues, or it's certain first layer should be states playing around and seeing what is better, what is not. Then there should be an oversight by the federal government to see, okay, this is the best model. Let's implement it. Let's see in the South, maybe in the West, and then maybe national. But I do think that both institutions should work together.
Okay, listen, I need Adam, I need Jeff, and I need Fernando. I mean, okay, stupid state, stupid decision. Adam.
Well, I'll just pose a question to the audience. Do you want to live in Louisiana?
No, Adam, I pose a question to you. You cannot turn this around. This is not your law school lecture room. I am saying to you, stupid states, stupid decisions. Adam?
That's absolutely wrong, because I prefer to live in New York and not North Korea. I prefer to live in Louisiana, not Lithuania. I prefer to live in Illinois, not Iraq. And that's the difference between democracy and tyranny. Democracy is about giving states and individuals the freedom and the liberty to determine the laws under which they will be governed. When the Supreme Court of the United States invents rights under the Constitution that have nothing to do with the words of the Constitution and expands federal power, guess what? You have a tyranny and an oligarchy, And I think, Deidre, you can't have it both ways. You can't
Okay.
say you're for states' rights and then say, oh, I'm okay with manipulating the Constitution when it's consistent with my moral predilections. That's precisely the recipe for tyranny. And I'm sorry, I believe in individual liberty, okay? And I don't believe in creating a tyrannical government, which is precisely what living constitutionalism does.
No, I got that part. Fernando,
And I'm tired of getting cut off. Nobody else gets cut off.
well, you didn't give me a chance to cut them off yet because you talk too much. Fernando, seriously, and Fernando, talk a little bit longer so I can cut you off just to make Adam feel better. May I? Fernando?
Not a problem, because I'm going to keep talking whether you cut me off or not. Nick is right. You do have states and you do get stupid decisions. I mean, look, state court is one of the worst places to be. It is a political cesspool where most of the clerks there come from individual political clubs. You know, little Johnny gets into a problem, needs a job. Where do they dump him? Into state court. You don't have that issue in federal court. You know, Adam is just wrong. He is trying to argue something that was established by people that were way smarter than him way before he was born. So if he doesn't like it, he's going to have to go back and argue with John Jay, Hamilton, Madison, and Marshall. You know, these guys litigated cases still with the Constitutional Convention.
Are you interpreting the Russian Constitution? It doesn't sound like the United States Constitution you're talking about.
And the revolution.
Are you talking about the Russian Constitution?
No, I'm talking about the U.S. Constitution, which clearly
I don't
you don't know how to
think you are. I
teach.
think
And
you're
they
mistaken.
should stop you from teaching.
All right,
Now,
that's it.
Guidry,
okay.
hold on, no. Guidry brought, since he cut me off, because Guidry brought up a good point about
Insults really
California.
get you far.
Guidry brought up a very good point about California, in that she talks about emission standards. What she leaves out of that is that, and that's probably because she wasn't born in the 70s like I was, that those came up, she's way younger than me. Those came about because of the Fresh Air Act passed by President Nixon, which was a federal law. That Fresh Air Act was directed at California to clear up smog. And that's what led to all of those states' laws in terms of the California emissions and everywhere else. So if it wasn't for the federal government stepping in, California would have smog-filled air, and we would be living under a ridiculous system like Adams.
No, I got it, Fernando.
And you can thank the federal government for Plessy versus Ferguson and Dred Scott, too.
Adam, please. Jeff, Fernando, your intellectual compatriot, just made the argument for bigfooting of states' rights, meaning states like Utah should not have a say-so when the federal government comes in and says, we think differently. Jeff, and Jeff, I'm gonna push you on this one. I remember a time when we had a conversation when you had the Department of the Interior making decisions on land management matters, and I know it's a bit out there, but Jeff, bigfooting by the United States versus states, what do you have to say?
Well, let me address Fernando's argument on where he began. I think was about he said that state judges were more political. I almost dropped my mic when he said that. No, I mean, I remember President Trump saying over and over and over again how it was a beautiful gift that President Obama left him with 300 something unfilled judicial appointments. And he got to go in and fill those. Of course, it's not quite that simple. I know he very much enjoyed filling those slots, but the reason he got to fill them is that the Republicans in the Senate blue-slipped all of Obama's nominees, and they were held up for a long time. And, you know, I mean, I would have done it too if I had the opportunity, but I'm just saying that the federal judiciary is as political as it gets, perhaps more than
not judges, Jeff. I was talking about the clerks that work in the courthouse.
Oh, and the Republican appointed judges in the federal judiciary are appointing Federalist Society members, and the Democrat appointed judges are appointing ACLU members. So, I mean, we've got very political court systems, both federal and state. I mean, I think on 95% of the cases, politics doesn't need to enter into it and doesn't. But on the really big ones, you can bet that they're counting votes. Now,
no, I got that part. Guidry, listen. Should the federal? Let me just ask you: should the federal government really be able to Bigfoot any individual state? Deidre?
Okay, so probably not any individual state if it would do it to all of the states, but federal government has done it. Federal government has done it when it comes to the civil rights, child labor, Affordable Care Act. It has been done, and sometimes they were more successful than others. I do believe in a compromise. Why can't we all live happily ever after? I think that there is a good way to do it, and I really don't like saying that, okay, states, all of the 50 independent laboratories should have complete autonomy or much more autonomy than it is, but I think that we should revisit it. I think states should gain a little more authority, and I think federal government should take a backseat, especially when it comes to regulations that involve economy. Because taxation is definitely imposed on the states too, and marijuana is a good example to it, because there were certain regulations that states were imposed to handle federal record keeping, federal banking system, and it creates additional.
Right. Nick, no. Deidre, I love you, but I mean, Nick, seriously.
Yeah, I mean,
seriously, Nick, can you help me here?
Yeah, these people love that Constitution way too much. These originalists. I'm totally with Guidry. You have to have a living Constitution, which in English means don't look at the literal craziness of a document written like 1789 by a bunch of old dead people right now. When we're moving into the 21st century, I know lawyers are horrible. They want to keep living in the past, dwelling in the past. Learn the past and spend more time with the past when the world is moving forward in technology. And that was a problem with a lot of the law schools. The ones that are successful, like the Franklin Pierce School of Law, which is now the University of New Hampshire School of Law, they moved all their lawyers into lawyers in technology. Then a lot of the law schools went to global type of law. But what do? Still, we look at the bloody Constitution, a document written in 1789, and you worship it like these people knew what they were doing.
No, fine.
No nationalism. Down with the state.
I no longer. No. We have limited time. I just can't listen to your outrage. I need some people that are thoughtful, and I can't believe I'm going to say this. Fine. Fernando, quick, 30 seconds to go to Adam, and then Jeff, I'm coming to you. I need thoughtfulness. 30 seconds, unmute, please.
Thoughtfulness on what? What's the question?
Anything that you said. I mean, and say anything that,
30 seconds are up.
Well, listen, I'm going to figure out how to run the board, and I'm just going to keep you muted the whole show. The sad part is that Nick keeps missing that he's been agreeing more with me than with Guidry. And in terms of something that Jeff said, I never said judges, Jeff. What I said is that at the state level, the day in and day out running of the courts is far more politicized than at the federal system. And a lot of that happens because in the states, there's far more, it becomes more of a swamp than even in Washington, whether people like to admit to that or not. Listen, little Johnny gets in trouble. His mom works at the local Democratic club. Little Johnny ends up with a political job somewhere, where you don't have that really happening at the federal system, because that stuff is kind of blocked off. All judges, federal, state, whatever, they're all political animals, because that's how you have to get the job. What they do with it after they get it is a different story. This whole concept that the states should do whatever they want and then the federal government takes a back seat just isn't what this country was built on.
All right. Okay, fine. Adam, and then Jeff, please. Adam, and keep it kind of limited, please.
I don't believe in National Socialism. I don't believe in the Russian Constitution, and Fernando is completely wrong. Guidry, there already was a compromise. That compromise was the Constitution, and the basis of that Constitution was giving people the power, giving liberty, freedom, self-determination, autonomy. That's why the Constitution created a limited federal government, gave the majority of power to the states so that people could be free, people could have the authority to decide the laws under which they're governed, and people could experience true individual and collective liberty. What Fernando is talking about, under the guise of living constitutionalism, which is really nothing more than saying judges can do whatever the hell they want to do based on whatever their morality says at a given time. That's not democracy, that's tyranny. I believe in the people, and Fernando, I think you should move to Russia. And Guidry, I'm thinking that Lithuania might be, preferable at this juncture.
That's a yellow flag. Guidry, you just heard what they had to say. I mean,
well, he threatened to mute me, and so who believes the First Amendment, him or me?
I threatened to mute you. I mean, I'll be clear about that. I did. Fine, but I didn't. Guidry,
this is precisely why democracy is important.
Well,
oh my God.
okay, so mark this point in our panel because we just reached the highest point of ridiculousness. It's funny. I think Adam has been always talking about how much he wants to go to Russia and how much he loves Mother Russia, but today I guess it's not the day. It happens. But what I want to say, Adam, I think that when there is a dialogue, and I'm also for the people, when there is a dialogue, when we talk about the changes and maybe evolving constitution, difference in economy, and therefore the needs, we actually really not getting closer to tyranny because there is movement within all three branches, and that's what's happening right now. So your argument is kind of missing me a little bit. But thank you.
Wow.
Well, would you like me to explain?
No, Adam. I don't want you to explain. Jeff, your turn, please.
You know, I have an uncle and an aunt that live in Cokeville, Wyoming, population about 250, and it doubles during the school day when all the kids come in from the ranches out in the county. And at one time, my uncle, his daughter was seriously injured in an accident on a go-kart, and the whole community started showing up with dinner and all kinds of stuff. And he was saying to the local bishop, I feel really, really bad that, all these people are doing all this stuff for us. And the bishop said to him, when my son got injured in a farming accident, this community ran our ranch for 2 years. That they came together and did that. Now, I'm going to suggest to you that the needs of people who are injured or sick, the needs of single moms, and every other group are fundamentally different in a town like Cokeville, Wyoming, than in New York City and downtown Manhattan. That it's a different ethic, it's a different culture, and we need 50 different states with 50 different solutions that are adapted to their local culture and circumstances. I don't believe in a one-size-fits-all solution. We need to have the flexibility and the freedom. So I believe the federal government ought to be islands of government power for the things that have to be truly national, foreign policy, military, and so on. But to leave the more personal concerns to the states where they can deal with them. And as Guidry said, they're closer to the people.
All right.
Fundamentally, I think it makes sense, and I think it was part of the wisdom of our founders.
Nick.
Yeah, I mean, see, the thing is, the whole argument's fundamentally flawed mathematically in every other possible way. This whole thing that we got to experiment, we saw the disaster in coronavirus, and you know what the disaster was? The American public was going, we're going to have the states compete against each other to how coronavirus works. In the meantime, if they looked internationally, which we never did, you'd see Malaysia already had successful measures on the coronavirus. So the population of 30 million, total deaths around 800. New Zealand the same way. Same with Australia. But no, we didn't bother because we're going to do our experiment, and that's the problem with the United States of America. We're going to experiment rather than look abroad. So this whole concept of states going out experimenting is wrong. And the fact that these little tiny states and anecdotal evidence that people like Jeff bring forth is wrong. What you need is a strong national government.
Right. Well, that's fine. I'm done with that. Diedrich, please. I mean, come on. Help me out.
Well, honestly, Bill, I don't know if I can help you. I think that I agree with Jeff. Jeff exactly vocalized it better what I wanted to say. There are issues for the federal government and there are issues for local government. I think COVID virus situation is different. Nick made a very, very good point. We should have done differently. However, that whole issue goes to the national issue that Jeff was mentioned, and therefore should be handled by the federal government here we agree with Nick, but then there are other situations that would be should be handled by the states themselves, and we should embrace it because United States is in a very unique position. We should not focus more our attention to abroad, rather we should really focus inside because we share so many similarities and interests, and also should take care of each other.
All right, Fernando, and then I'm coming to you, Adam, even though I hate it. Fernando, please. And then Adam, don't think I forgot about you. Fernando, please.
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to have to agree with Nick again because he used a very good example in terms of the pandemic.
No, this is crazy.
It is crazy. It is.
No, this is crazy. I cannot have.
I'll buy you dinner in New York for that one, Fernando. Thank you.
Oh my!
We're a team now, baby.
Listen,
I'm outraged. I'm outraged. Fine, Fernando. Go.
In terms of just the pandemic, in terms of just getting the vaccinations out, it's been a complete mess because every single state has a different rule. For example, Florida, if you come in as a tourist, you can get the vaccine, yet people in the state can't get it. So, that's just lunacy.
No, hang on, Fernando. That's states' rights. I mean, a state has a right to make their own decisions about what they're doing without being bigfooted by the federal government. So you get
at that point, they should be bigfooted by the federal government because they're cutting out their own citizens of the United States for Canadian tourists so that they can get tourist dollars, or Mexican tourists so that they can get tourist dollars.
All right,
hold on, because I need to address one thing.
What?
Adam saying that it should be in Russia is the funniest thing I have ever heard, since he himself is an advocate of Russia and Putin and wants to move to Russia and says the Russian national anthem is the greatest in the world. Further, on this very show,
show me one show when I said that.
First one show when I said that. On multiple times on this show, he has called for the elimination of the First Amendment, our basic freedom.
Show me one show that says that.
You
sound like Bill Clinton when he denied having an affair with Monica Lewinsky.
A ministry of censorship where he is the one on the top telling you what to say, and he has the nerve to say that I want to go to Russia. Buddy, you are high, and you should be going to Gitmo along with everybody else.
Go away, Fernando. Go away. You're absolutely disgraced.
You two guys are.
Can I say something now, Bill?
I don't even know how you're teaching common law. This is insanity.
Fernando, please.
I don't even know how you're practicing law.
Oh, very easily, because I'm a good attorney.
Adam, stop.
Yeah, you'll be a great attorney in St. Petersburg.
Listen,
great one.
Those who
and you'll be a great one in Pyongyang too, and maybe in karate.
Always remember the following: those who can do, those who can't teach. Hence why you're teaching and I'm practicing.
I practice and I teach. Once again, a false statement, just like the last 5 false statements you made. Now let's get back to the truth.
You're not practicing.
Go away, Fernando.
You're teaching and law.
I teach and I practice. Now go away. Go away. You're being annoying. So, not a single state in this country. Not a single state in this country can enact term limits on their federal congressmen because in U.S. versus Thornton, the court in a 5-4 decision said they couldn't. Not a single state can outlaw abortion. Not a single state can restrict marriage to opposite-sex couples. Okay? Not a single state. Why? Because in all of these instances, the U.S. Supreme Court, often in 5-4 decisions, said that they couldn't. And that represented an expansion of federal power, and that's why it matters. And the way they did it was by disregarding the language of the Constitution and not basing their decision on any reasonable interpretation of the text. They just did what they wanted to do for their own political and moral predilections. That is security. As far as Fernando goes, you can insult your way all you want, but it doesn't make your argument any stronger. Okay, you haven't refuted a single point I have. What you have done is misrepresented what I have said, and that's wrong. Okay? And you should apologize to me and this panel for doing so, and the audience for misleading the audience.
I don't need to apologize to somebody who said it repeatedly.
Please, stop. One.
I did not ever.
No, wait.
On any show, say that.
Counselors, please. No one apologizes here in the lawyer's den. Okay? That's rule number 1. If you don't like what's said, then maybe you find another den. I need the following, and I'm going to go right down the lower panel because you guys are in it. Deidre, Nick, and Jeff, and I don't need interruptions. Adam and Fernando. Deidre, Nick.
So 10th Amendment discussion is not that boring. I think it brings the worst in us. It's a very contentious issue, and when we just saw it in just happen, and it happens, and it's okay. I think the bottom line is that let's agree to disagree. In my opinion, I think that we've been having this torturous dialogue when it comes to the understanding of where the state power ends and where the federal power begins. I think that it should be revisited. I do agree with Adam that there were certain Supreme Court decisions that definitely extended the enumerated powers granted to the federal government. But I think we can make it around, and especially now, I'm very hopeful of the economy-driven situations, and I think that we are going to revisit that issue, and hopefully we're all going to be, together happy. And we'll see what's going to happen.
No. We're never going to be happy here in the Warriors Den. Nick,
That's true.
I'm very pleased because I thought this is an extremely boring topic. However, Adam has made it exciting once again. I don't know how he bothers to do that because of his false advocacy for state rights. And when it's crystal clear that countries that are led by strong nationalism like China is eating the United States' lunch. So, Adam, here's my challenge to you. Learn Mandarin, dude, and enjoy your democracy, baby.
Fine. Nick, you're done. Jeff, please. I mean, I have a lunatic for a boss. Jeff?
Yeah, you do.
I know, see?
So here's the thing. Liberty is insecure when power is unrestrained. And that's what the 10th Amendment is really about. It's saying to the federal government, you are a government of enumerated powers. It's a strong federal government. The president has real power. The Congress has real power, but it is limited. It is limited to certain specific subject matter areas. Now, President James Madison, who is universally known as the father of the Constitution, actually vetoed a bill once that would have allowed national roads and canals and all kinds of infrastructure. And he said in his veto message, I actually think this is good policy. I think we should have put it in the Constitution, but we didn't. And therefore, I'm vetoing it, because if I do this when I think it's good policy, where does it end? If I allow the fences to be breached, basically, that protect our freedom, where is the raw exercise of power going to end? And that is the fundamental principle. Now, we have all sorts of federal infrastructure programs, and I'm not suggesting undoing that, but at some point, we have to bring the federal government back into principled limits. And we have allowed it to get out of hand for 2 centuries, and the federal government is too big, it's too bloated, and its power is exercised with reckless abandon.
Right. Well, Jeff, I was with you, and I was digging you, and I was learning along the way with you. But when you say 200 years, I mean, I'm not listening to that. Fernando, and then Nick, because we got to close the show. Geeky,
hey, why don't you just cut Fernando off, and then we can close the show?
Listen, we have a layered federal system. Listen, the federal government is the floor, and then the states follow after that. Adam will get an apology. Adam's apology will come way after he shaves his head. So don't hold your breath, because you're going to pass out.
Right.
Can I have 10 seconds?
Then can we cut Adam off?
Yes. We got Fernando. You guys, I try to manage.
No, I want to hear Adam, man. I want to hear Adam before you cut him off.
Adam, yeah, I got it. Adam, Guidry, and then Nick, please.
The Constitution is an amazing document because the founders had an amazing vision, and that vision was to give power to the people, and the people exercise that power and voice through the democratic process. I agree with Guidry. We want to do the right things. We want to have decency into the law, but we do that through the legislature, not through the courts, because at the end of the day, I want the people to rule themselves. I don't want philosopher kings to rule the people.
Excellent. Guidry.
Well, I also believe that power is supposed to belong to the people, and maybe we should create a new amendment to the Constitution that would specifically address the 10th current amendment and give it some teeth to be able to provide the states what they need to have in order to better operate within themselves.
Okay, Nick, see, right on time. Don't ever think
Right on time.
you're gonna land this plane on time. Nick,
Yep.
can you land this plane for us, please?
Time to end the lawyer's den on the 10th Amendment. So now the rest of the world will know what the 10th Amendment is, if they even want to learn it. But if you think it's boring, go see Adam. He'll make it exciting for you. We'll see you next time on the lawyer's den. And Keidre goes, let's go look at something that took place 40 years ago. Who cares? Okay, that's political.